First of all, thank you very much for being here and for doing exactly what we have to do. You are the future of this country. You are the future, and that is an awesome responsibility given the enormous problems facing this country in terms of income and wealth inequality, poverty, climate change, racism, sexism, and so forth. And your job is to create a much better country than the country that my generation left you. But to do your job well, you're going to need an excellent education. That's about it. Now, I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you two stories. 50 years ago in the United States, young people, regardless of their income, could go to some of the great public universities and colleges in the world because tuition was free or virtually free. And then what happened over those 50-year periods, right-wing people said, we're going to cut back on public aid to education, and we're going to force working class and low-income families to pay more and more. And where we are today, in a country in which we need the best educated people in the world, we are in a country where hundreds of thousands of young people who are bright, who want a good college education, you know what they're saying? I can't afford it. I am not going to go to college. And think of what that means, not only for the family and the individual. What does it mean for our country? Think about all of the intellectual capital that we are wasting. What these bright young people could do and produce for our country. We are saying we don't want you. Does that make any sense to anybody? And then what we're also saying is, okay, maybe you can make it through college. Maybe you can pay the high tuition and the other costs. But when you graduate school, you are going to be deeply, deeply in debt. And that debt is going to hang around your neck for decades. I talked a few months ago to a mother who was not only paying off her student debt, she's paying off her kids' student debt. I talked to a young woman who did exactly what we want. We have a crisis in this country, not only in healthcare in general, but in primary healthcare, way behind the rest of the world. We need tens of thousands of primary care physicians working in neighborhoods all over America. This young woman graduated medical school with the crime of wanting to be and is a primary care physician. Do you know what her student debt is? $300,000. Talk to dentists. We have a dental crisis in this country. Millions of people cannot find a dentist at an affordable cost. You know what people are graduating dental school with? $250,000 in debt. Now, it is time for us to learn some very important lessons from countries around the world. Demonstrations like this do not take place in countries like Germany and Denmark and Finland and Norway. You know why? Because those countries are smart enough to know that the future of their countries depend on the investments they make in their young people. And in those countries, tuition is free. And what they say is, look, we want you to be able to go to college or to graduate school or to medical school regardless of your income, because we need your intelligence. We need your energy. We need your idealism. And we're not going to keep you from getting a college education because your families don't have a whole lot of money. So I will tell you right now, we are introducing legislation that will do two things. Number one, it will invest in our young people and make tuition free at every public college and university in America. And the second thing we're going to do is drive down interest rates substantially for those people who have student debt right now. So last night at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, the Republican budget was passed. And it is a budget that is so disgraceful. It is such a bad budget that when I tell it to people, they say, that's not true. You're not telling the truth. You're being political. The budget throws 27 million people off of health insurance. One of the accomplishments of the Affordable Care Act was to keep young people on their parents' health insurance until they're age 26. Gone. Millions of young people would lose their health insurance. And as Maxwell pointed out, in this budget, among many other things, not only do they cut child care, and not only do they cut Head Start, making it harder for working class families to provide well for their little kids, they cut $90 billion in mandatory funding for Pell Grants. So you have a situation all over this country where families are struggling. They're sitting around with their kids saying, how are we going to afford to send our kids to college? Their response is to cut $90 billion for the major federal source of help to make college possible for young people. It is a budget which is absolutely backwards. Instead of doing what they should be doing, making college affordable, they make college less affordable. Instead of providing the opportunity for more people to have health insurance, they throw 27 million people off of health insurance. Instead of to ask the billionaires to start paying their fair share of taxes, they raise taxes on low-income and working people. All right, how are we going to turn this about? Well, I'll tell you how we're going to turn it about. What the Republicans and the right wing in this country believe is that ordinary people have given up on the political process and that the billionaires with their huge amounts of money are going to buy elections. The only antidote that I know to that is you. Okay? And it is fantastic that you are here today. The vast majority of the American people believe exactly what you are saying, that we have got to significantly lower the cost of college education. Now, I have one favor to ask of you. This is a great turnout today. But the next time you come back, bring a few million of your fellow students with you. And make these guys an offer they can't refuse. And that is, if they do not substantially lower the cost of college education, if they do not make college education available to every American, regardless of his or her income, if they're going to make it harder for you to get a good job, you tell them they are going to lose their job. Okay? Thank you very much.